Hey yo everyone, this is Aarolei from the Crystal Chronicles podcast. Now we're doing a post commentary today, and before we get into that post commentary of this Lufenia with the evil gaze, the Medusa's Lufenia, for the chapter 1 of Arc 3, I just want to remind you everyone, if you like what you see, then hit that like button, subscribe, and lastly hit that fat notification bell to never miss another one of my videos. If you're already a subscriber, then thanks so much for your continued support. As well, you can always join Mark, Kriese and I on the Crystal Chronicles podcast every Thursday on Twitch live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, or watch on YouTube or your favorite podcast listening app. With that said, I'm going to transition over now to the actual video. You guys have a great one. Alright guys, we're fighting the Medusas for Onion Knight's story chapter for chapter 1 of Arc 3. Of course, as always, I just want to remind you guys, this is a post-recording. This is the first time I'm doing a post-recording. So right now, I'm opening up with the characters. There's a lot I gotta talk about with these bosses. I'm just gonna kind of let them play for the most part. The only thing I'm gonna bring up is the reason why with Penelo in her first couple of turns, I'm spamming a bunch of her buffs is because I know immediately I'm going to use onions, LD, and I want to use her AA following up right afterwards. Okay, so on like these Medusa's first turn, they're always going to use Flamethrower. They're going to dish out some HP damage. There's no brave attacks or anything. It's just a mild HP hit, just to let you know what's coming. So another thing I want to point out is that the boss also starts with this yellow aura with these like little droplets over them, and when they're in the yellow aura, that's when they are weaker to magic and they have higher defense. Later, once they're about to do the recast, they'll swap their stance, similar to how Onion does, but in this case, once they swap, they'll have like a purple aura, and then they become melee and range vulnerable. They're more weak to those things, and there's a higher speed to these enemies. So those are the main starting things. Anyway, the reason why I'm telling you all this is because there's a lot you gotta be aware of in this fight. So once they also, one other thing I want to point out is the Medusas early on, they have, when you open up with the fight, they have two different cast bar moments. So one of them is a little bit more generated than the other, and this is because getting hit with back-to-back gaze attacks, the recast ability, is very, very, very difficult to deal with. Try as best as you can not to get smacked back-to-back with gaze, the recast ability, because if you get hit with that means if you're going to take a lot of damage. But if you also get broken during the gaze attack, then your character will become petrified, and that's pretty much a dead run. Yes, you can Esna the effect, but the Medusas also become invulnerable for like several turns, I think, to debuffs. That's just pretty much going to kill a run, guys, for a lot of teams. So just don't let it happen. Another thing about gaze is you cannot dodge it. So you can't use true blind or blindness or anything like that to nullify it. You can delay it with stuff like HP silence. That's fine. Just realize that's just delaying it. You can paralyze, of course, too. And the other thing I want to point out is that when they use gaze, your stuff like Warrior of Light shields and all that, they don't reduce the brave damage taken. You've got to take the brave damage. So don't think you can get around it that way. Yeah, gaze is disgusting. This is the main part of playing around this fight, is dealing with the recast. Thankfully, you may only have to come across it once or twice in a set before you win the fight, if you can set up correctly for it. Some teams may even be able to get around never seeing it. I'm not one of those players, but congrats if you are. I don't know why you're watching my video. Anyway, there's a couple other things about this fight I want to point out. And one of those things as well is that this is, going forward, all fights are going to have brave gain reduction. Brave gain reduction basically means like anything with like brave regions, or where like For example, here I got Jack whenever he would use his EX. What would happen is I will get as much brave when before unleashing the attack. You can build around that, so it's just something to be aware of. It obviously hasn't really hurt our ability to conquer fights. It's just that you can't rely on battery the same way you used to before. Oh yeah, another thing. So they gain increased brave gain reduction auras as the fight goes on, and also in their right before they do their recast, it goes up to like minus 80%. It's a ridiculous number. You really have to play around with that, and you really need to be careful either by brave attacking yourself, which you may not have time for, or you need to make sure your battery character will be okay. They can generate enough brave somehow, or to protect your party. You only have 80 turns to win, so keep that in mind as well. Okay, so when they use Flamethrower Plus, which you just saw, that's when they lock their turns. Generally speaking, the next turn or the turn after is when they'll use Flamethrower Plus. Once they go back to using regular Flamethrower Plus and not just Flamethrower Plus, that's when the unlock will occur for the turns. So then you can delete and delay like normal. Other things about lock is if you were to break a target, they don't go back a turn. You know how like normally they would be pushed back a turn? That doesn't happen when they are in Brave Lock. You cannot also delete or delay, of course. You can still, with high turn rate skills, get turns in front of the enemy. Or, of course, you can summon and burst. Or you can use effects like swap turn effects from like Onion Knight's LD, Rem, Ulti's EX. Meeting certain conditions to take additional turns. Things of that nature will work like normal. You just can't push the enemy's turn from where it is. So, this is new too. This is a new mechanic we are going to have to deal with. And it means you will at some point most likely have to contend with something the boss is trying to do. Just be aware of it. Don't flip out too bad. And I just want to point out these shields pop up again. And one other point after the 70% mark. Once one of them goes under that. The other time that the shield's going to come back is at the under 30% mark. It only needs to be one of these guys, by the way, when they do that. And once they do that, just try to get rid of it. Use enchants and things to help increase your brave damage. It's a lot to have to dig through. Things like this true damage, like from Penelo and X-Death, can also help assist you so that your damage won't stay poopy doopy. Because the sooner you can remove those shields, the better. You don't want to keep them up. Alright, so I think I went through, thank God, I finally went through all the main things. So now I could kind of more or less talk about the fight with why I picked the characters I did. And why I'm making the moves I am. So I like Onion's LD. It's very cool. There's a lot of funny, cute things you can do with it. Cute setups. It increases longevity for certain characters greatly, such as Penelo here with her AA. It means a lot more extra free skills. It's super good. Super happy about that. Arciella coming up also does something similar, so she will be very good with Onion because of that reason, so she can get even more skill uses than she already has, which is kind of minimal. So this will extend her skill use capability quite a lot, so she'll be able to do a lot more HP silence. So if that sounds appealing to you guys, definitely go for Arciella, coming later, I think this week, as of recording this video. Next, it increases, you can set up so that you can maybe do go right into EXs, because there's certain skills that have high turn rates but you can't spam them necessarily a lot, or skills that have instant turn rate. Now you have more you have more chances to use them. It just really opens up some interesting play styles, and I really appreciate that he got such an interesting LD. Very cool. We are getting near the 50% mark for these enemies, and I kind of focused more on one because these bosses like to do different things at different points. So once you get the boss under 50%, let's talk about the orb. That's when you got to deal with the orb. So At that point, they want you to deal ice elemental damage. You have a couple options for that. You can use Onion Knight, of course, with his elemental enchant. You can also use Cater's Call, which will be a self ice enchant. So that'll give you some breathing room. And don't really think there are, of course, other ice damage dealers, but I don't know how viable most of them would be. You know, a Palom, of course, he's here, but I don't know if I'd want to use him here. I don't know if he could keep up with like the damage reduction and everything else going on. Who else is there? Of course, if you don't have your own Onion Knight, just get a friend one. You know, he'll probably be able to help you out a lot because you can abuse his AA and his turn swaps, and hopefully yours will have a BT effect as well. But if yours does not, just happen to use the EX maybe as one of your skills so that he can get into, he can do some extra damage. If you do not use a skill before EX, it will automatically be Blade Torrent. So you will instantly enter into Ninja 3 stance if you decide to use an Onion friend that does not have ABT. So if you happen to be on my friend list, that's the case with mine. That's what I would recommend, is possibly at the end of the turns or somewhere in the middle if you can fit it in. Just use the EX. You'll do some decent damage, and pretty much, yeah. That's all I can say about that. So once they hit 50%, like I said, that's when the orb appears. Just make sure you're dealing with it. A lot more to say there. So I'm gonna cut out until I have something to say. Oh, I do have something else to say. So once they do go into the 50%, under 50% mark, they're going to dispel their debuffs again. And yes, it's framed or not. So just be aware of that. And be ready to reapply all of your debuffs from your characters at that point. This is the last moment they will do a debuff removal. So this is the point where you're going to use you're going to want to probably use your debuff calls. So, you know, your Jack call, your Machina call, those kind of things. That will be the time for that. But guys, this is a very tricky fight. I want to point that out. So even if you do not have the characters now, if you're looking for future options here, Celis is coming back with Divine Ramu next month in April. She will become a party ice enchanter, and she will be a tank that can greatly assist you with this fight. This is permanent content. So if you are not interested in Onion Knight, you lack the resources for Onion Knight, you just, for whatever reason, can't get him, can't luck sack him. You know, I understand. We all have different rosters in this game. We're all at different points with our gems and everything. If Celis sounds like a really interesting character to you, go ahead and pick her up. She is getting a rework then. She will probably be able to greatly, again, help you with this fight. She'll be able to lock all the turns in. A lot of the attacks these guys do are magic attacks. So Celis greatly lowers magic damage taken for your party in general, like brave damage taken, and she herself absorbs all magic brave damage. Very, very good character. I will highly recommend her if you do not want to do this fight now and you'd rather do it later. So now we're getting close to the 40% mark as well. So those shields are going to come back at that point. The 150k shields that we gotta remove ASAP. Thankfully, We have a lot more options here than what we did with some of the previous, I would call, what were called Hell Lufenias. So I'm talking things like the Reno Lufenia or the Sephiroth Lufenia. Those were pretty awful. You could probably name a couple others, of course, like Kieran's Lufenia. But because of some of the options we have now, this fight means we have more choices for dealing with certain mechanics. So it's not just Lightning's the only game in town for kind of getting through content. We have other characters with high turn rate capabilities and turn manipulation. So that's greatly assisting with the capability of dealing with this fight. What else is there to say? So around this point, I started realizing in the recording that I could probably get away with some real big turn shenanigans once these bosses get under 30%. It didn't matter at that point, they locked their turns. I was going to swap my onion friend with my onion friend with my onion, and we were going to turn shenanigan it up. So I also realized if I could get them under 30%, that I would be on one of them, that the shields would come back. No, wait, I'm sorry. They would do the turn lock mechanic. So then, yeah, they do come back with the shields. Okay, so they come back with the shields and they self-delay again. And yeah, it doesn't matter that they lock their turns at that point, because you can still get extra turns as long as you do certain things, like I talked about earlier in the video. And I'm taking advantage of all those different tactics right here at this point. So there you go, there's that snake cowl right there. And the other one will, of course, as well activate it. Thankfully, you don't have to worry about it if they're uneven. If the other one goes under the mark where the shields would appear, it doesn't do anything. It's just got to be one or the other boss that hits the point. And the timing for that play for Onion was pretty much perfect, because they're both melee weak, and my two main characters that I'm, at least Jack, he's a melee oriented character, so he could continue to do very good high damage and brave hit damage through his skills, while being able to continuously get turns over the enemy, because I knew I was going to meet the conditions for him to do so. We're about to summon, actually, in this video. So just give it a little bit more time. And I take advantage, of course, of more Onion LD turn shenanigans. This is definitely a very different feeling, by the way. Kind of more relaxing in some respects to just do post commentary, but I will probably be going back to regular commentary after this. It's just, I did not want to deal with the stress of trying to get this fight right with this team, and also do live commentary while I was doing the fight. This fight already, it felt like it took longer than it actually did to beat. I got a little bit faster after my initial complete, and this is the second complete I did. I always do a practice run so I can make sure I know what I'm doing with the fight, and I can talk about it with you guys like this. Alright, so this is where I'm about to summon, actually. We're going to see it in just a moment, because I got to take advantage of that EX right here so I can keep going and being ham with my characters. I also want to point out, this is not my first time actually doing Penelo Onion turn things. I used it back in Cosmos era before Penelo even had an EX. There was a fight or two I did that with. Of course, once she did get her EX, that was cool. And Onion was one of the best partners for her, damage dealing wise and all that. Oh, and it was the same time Yuri came out. Oh my gosh, that was like a great team around the Cosmos era. Great stuff. Bring back memories seeing Onion and Penelo again, though. I really enjoy this duo. They just bring a lot to the table with each other, and the LDs on both of them now have only brought even more further utilities now that Penelo can Esna and Super Regen the party, and of course Onion's got this swap turns mechanic, and and that's on top of like some of the already weird high turn rate shenanigans things they can do together depending on their skills and of course their stances and all that good stuff. Very nice. I really enjoy the nuances between these two, and there are many, and I get really excited when characters I like come back around the same time like this. It's not often, and I am still waiting to see what's to come for many of my characters that I really enjoy playing in this game. They don't have LDs in JP, and I'm still waiting to see what they may or may not get. So we're racking up the end, and these bosses actually are not going to get another turn. Between all these guys and their high turn rates and everything else, it's just not happening. They're not getting another turn. Jack also has that cheap tactic where he can just keep getting all the turns he wants over these guys, and I'm okay with that. So I'm about to go into another intercession here, right near the end. Got the power of the Haste Roomba. Used to be called, I think, like Great Haste, and I can't remember what Regen Waltz used to be called. It used to have a different name too. I kind of prefer that she has like the dancer sounding moves now. It makes for better sounding skills. And guys, once Jack takes his next turn, my Onion Knight coming back first though, we will finish with one of my favorite things to finish a fight with. And you know those two things. It's either a launch or an EX. And Jack's got the goods. He's got the EX. Let's go. And that's going to wrap up the fight. And of course, what kind of video? Even with post-commentary, I have to show you guys the party used screen, of course, at the end. So don't worry, I got you covered if you wanted to see it. So, as always, guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening in. Hopefully, I will be back to normal with the commentary stuff that is live instead of post like this. But there's my team. I got perfect arts for Jack. It wasn't too bad. It was very easy, in fact. I luck sacked. I didn't even farm that long, and I got all the perfect arts right there. I think he really wanted to be on the team very badly. Anyway, thanks so much, guys, as always, for watching. And until next time, stay cool and have fun.